One of the main reasons is because women are part-time workers. They are single mothers, and they stay longer at home than male. And all this is taken into consideration. So, and if you take, for example, pension of women, which is much less because they take care of the household and all those things taken together, they reduce or they increase the gap between money.
So it's also a combination of the whole
social structure. Yeah. So it is. That's why if we take, for example, now even in the Scandinavian countries, it's still it is already changing into a negative direction. But they used to facilitate, coming back after maternity leave, that you can work immediately because there is childcare center much facilitated, much more advanced than in many European countries. Therefore, the pay gap is in Sweden, for example, at least a couple of years ago, used to be much better. Now it is going towards in the wrong direction. So these are factors which play a role.
Coming back to you, your childhood, you're coming out of a family with a lot of children. How was it? Was it easy for you to get education, or if you see the movie, you have the same experience, or is it quite similar? At least at the land side, it's not in the big cities, but in the villages, it's the same.
I grew up in should I say a township setting. So it may not be the typical village, and I come from a family of 4 children. So my parents were able to send me. So I may not be the perfect example for this. My parents are quite educated. My dad is a professor. My mom was a high school teacher. So we were able to go to school. But still, yes, this situation is it's a rural or maybe a little bit of an extreme situation, but it doesn't mean that this doesn't happen. So you may still find this in very rural areas in Africa, in many parts of Africa. So this happens. But yes, I was able to go to school, but irrespective, like some of the points I shared, that despite being educated, some of the points I highlighted in my books, despite being educated, you still find the barriers that we face as women. I will give an example. I initially wanted to study medicine in the university because as a teenager I've always been ambitious. So I would say, I want to bring the cure to HIV/AIDS. And I thought that's the job of a pharmacist. But I thought I wanted to also have the opportunity to interact with patients, because I didn't know that as a pharmacist I could do that. So I thought I was torn between, should I study pharmacy or should I study medicine? My dad, who's a professor, had very good intentions. Well, his counsel for me was, Bene, that's the short way of calling my name, I think you should take pharmacy instead of medicine, because medicine, it's a dirty job. When you get married and you're with your children and your family, they'll be calling you to come to the hospital, on rounds. So it felt like even having an education is great, but a woman is not allowed supposedly to dream too big or be too ambitious. Let your dream fit into the family setting, your husband and having the children. And that's why at 25, when I told my dad I was going to get married, he panicked because he said, "You said you were going to get a master's degree." I said, "Well, but marriage doesn't stop people from getting married, from getting a degree." So Nema's case may have been extreme, but you still find that even in being an educated woman and in different settings, whether very rural or urban or real urban big cities, you still find sprinkles of barriers that women face, in one area or the other, just for the sake of the gender and societal construct.
I think we saw a lot of tragedy in the movie, and at the end was a big happy end. And I just wanted to ask, is that any kind realistic? How realistic is that, or what do you think about this end?
Could you just specify which of the tragedies?
Yeah, I mean the whole tragedy that Nema should be solved.
Yeah.
And we saw the family tragedy. We saw the man who is like giving up on his family, and then he's just coming back, and everything is happy again. And they work on the field together like a happy family life. Everything is great.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, but it doesn't always happen in real life. Yeah, there are people who have had serious problems or even had to drop out of school for similar situations. So, and if, as you can see, how this gender inequality comes to play, where the woman is the one who's working mostly on the farm, yet the man wants to dictate how the money is spent or how the crops are sold. So you still have, bits of this still happening, depending on where you are or the context. So I would give example of probably extreme cases that I have witnessed myself. So I don't know, some of you don't know much of Africa, but you would find more of this kind of situation in northern Nigeria, especially the very rural communities where factors such as religion and culture, come into play, that a woman is probably, or a girl is probably not allowed to go to school, or even if she goes, she's probably at risk, or threatened. In Nigeria, there's something called the National Youth Service Corps, where everyone who finishes the university, if you are under 30 and not sick, you are posted to another part of Nigeria to serve the government for 1 year. So it's similar to serving in the army. But in this, it's a 1 year program. You have 3 weeks of a bit of military training, and then you are posted to work in a place that you can apply your university knowledge, and you get a stipend from the government. Nigeria is the most populated country in Africa, so over 230 million people, and yes, I can see your eyes. So it's quite big, and I'm from the south, and I got posted to the north to serve. It was like a complete culture shock, despite being from the same country. The religion, the way of life, and then as a pharmacist, having to attend to women and people in the local hospitals. You hear conversation. I had to try to learn a bit of the language to be able to interact. There are highly educated people there as well, but the rural people, this is where you find most of the problem. And my friend who understood, even though she's from also the southeast, she had lived there, so she had more understanding of the culture and the context and spoke the language. And she said things like, if a child is sick and the man of the house isn't there, the woman has to wait for him to come back to get permission to take the child to the hospital. So these are extreme cases. But yes, it does happen, especially in very rural settings like this.
Yes.
What do you think about her maybe going to the city? Because I feel like there's going to be different challenges, but there's probably still going to be challenges. It's not the same context, but I've been to Latin America and I met a lot of young people leaving countryside to go to the city for having more chances maybe, but in the end they ended up having different issues, but still a really difficult time. So I wonder what you would think about her going to the city. Maybe where the boy would have been a different situation.
Exactly. Do you mean Fatuma or Nema? Nema.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, but like you rightly said, the city will also present its own challenges. I think the village, if she had gotten more support than she did, for instance, we see how the support that the women group brought to the mom being able to, get rid of the pests in the farm, and being able to get the extra support and push to allow Nema go to school. That's is super great. So whether she remained in the village to complete her education or she moved to the city, that would have been good. But then the city, like you said, brings another challenge, traveling. This was for me, who supposedly, a young pharmacist at 22, 23, traveling to high-level conferences, for instance, in Brazil. This was me traveling alone. And despite me being educated, the fact that I was a woman meant that I was exposed to a lot of problems on the way, despite being educated and despite traveling, just like every other person. But because I was a young woman traveling alone, that meant I had to watch my back. So it is a global problem. The example of Nima and Fatuma may be extreme for you, but it happens, and it's a global problem. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, The Danger of Telling a Single Story.
Yeah, she has this great TED talk about this kind of problem that we are always shown, like also from charity organizations, like these pictures of black children that are poor, and this is kind of the image we have about Africa and Europe. And I got the feeling this movie, I don't want to say that these stories don't exist, they exist for sure, but yeah, it kind of creates this single story, doesn't it?
I'm really excited that you are the one who made this point and not me. But the good thing is that is where I strike the balance. So this is me telling you that, well, this happens in very extreme cases, but I am the opposite of what happens when a girl gets a chance. And I also share how, despite being educated and being a young girl traveling alone, I have to watch my back. Because I'm a woman, I'm a young girl, I'm traveling alone to a country where I probably can't reach my mom on phone or my parents on phone until I have access to the Wi-Fi or the internet. So I am the other side of what can happen if a girl gets a chance, if a girl gets the support. And beyond just having basic education, but also allowing a girl to dream. Honestly, it was the works I was doing in my own local community, organizing community projects for young girls. I had the privilege from an average family, so my parents could afford to send me to a boarding school. But then visiting, when I was on holidays and when I finished my high school, I saw that some of my schoolmates from the primary school in the community were getting pregnant out of wedlock. So I started like a project where we could have conversations to say, hey, I feel how you feel. I know you're attracted to guys, and all, but it's possible to stay focused. And it was those works and those conversations that actually gave me the scholarship with which I came to MCI to study. So I moved straight from Nigeria to this place. So I am the balance of what happens when a girl gets the support, gets the chance to dream, and is not relegated to being a housewife or just a mother producing kids. I have kids, by the way, too, so.
This movie was shown in Leo Kino at the International Film Festival, so it was chosen. Yeah, that's interesting. So 5 years ago.
So